Morning, Mariam and Aisha.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Aisha, how are you now? Mariam, how are you now?
Fine, ma'am.
Alhamdulillah, ma'am. Fine.
Alhamdulillah. Good morning, Hizar. How are you, Hizar? And Hizar, do tell me that why are you attending online classes these days? I hope everything is fine.
Yes, ma'am, everything is fine.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning, Rabia. How are you, dear?
I'm fine, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Students, just give me 2 minutes. I will start the class, okay? Okay, so students, today the topic which we are going to start is bank reconciliation. We do also call it as bank reconciliation statement. Okay, what is a bank reconciliation? As we have already discussed initially, that on the part of the organizations, by having a look at their cash book, they do determine that how many cash they do have in their premises and how much cash they do have in the bank. What is the purpose of making the cash book by the organizations? The determination of cash available in the organization and the availability of the cash in the bank account of the organization. On one side, the organizations do make their cash book or their cash ledger account. On the other hand, their banks, their relevant banks in which they are having their accounts also, they are also making their bank account. Their bank statement is being created. Now, obviously, when for the same person, for the same organization, these cash books and bank statements are being prepared, ultimately, both the balances which are shown by both these accounts must be same. As a control activity, we do a comparison of the balance which is shown as per the cash book of the organization and the balance which is shown by the bank account of the organization which is maintained by the bank. If there are any kind of discrepancies in the cash book or in the bank account or the bank statement, the balances which are shown by these both are not going to match. So we have to reconcile the differences which are arising in both these accounts. This is one of the control activities. One of the control activities is comparison. We do compare two sets of accounts in order to see that whether there are any kind of changes in them or whether they are telling us the same balance. If the same balance is there, it means that there is no discrepancy. If the balances are not same, it means that there are some differences which have to be removed. So this is the purpose of the bank reconciliation or bank reconciliation statement. As I told you that on one side, the cash book is going to be maintained by the organization. Who is going to maintain the cash book? Organization. Simply a ledger account of the cash, we can say it. Debit and credit. On the other side, the bank will also be maintaining the account on behalf of the payable. Obviously, the organization has some balance in the bank. For bank, that organization is a payable. Say, for example, you are the person who is submitting, who is saving some amount in your bank. It means that you are to receive that money from the bank in the future. So that is why bank is for bank, your organization is a payable. Am I right? For you, the bank is receivable. For bank, you are the payable. Because bank has to pay that amount of money to you in the future. If you are making some savings in the bank, that has to be returned to you by the bank in some future date. So that is why for bank you are payable. Anyhow, the bank will also be maintaining an account, and both sides are going to be the same as debit and credit. If the organization has some saving in the bank, ultimately the balance as per cash book, which will be shown, is going to be the debit balance. Debit balance will be written on the credit side. Closing balance will be shown on the credit side. Okay, this means that it is the debit balance. For bank, the same balance will be on the credit side, because for bank you are the payable. Getting my point? For you, the bank is the receivable, and for bank you are the payable. So the same balance in your account has to be shown in the bank account as the credit balance. Getting it? It means that your bank statement is showing a mirror image view. Consider a general thing. Say for example, AFAC. AFAC has given me some amount of money which I have to return in the future. For AFAC, I am a receivable. For me, AFAC is a payable. Am I right? So AFAC will be making his accounts and will be showing me as the receivable, will be showing a debit balance in his accounts, whereas I will be making an account and I will be showing him as a creditor, because I have to pay him the money in the future. He is an obligation for me. So the same thing is going to happen in the case of the organization and bank. For organizations, in the cash book, if there is a debit balance, for banks, it will be shown as the credit balance. For organizations, in regards to the cash, debit balance is favorable. Am I right? If there is a debit balance on the cash book, it's a favorable one. For bank accounts, that same favorable balance will be shown as the credit balance. Getting my point? That is why whenever you have seen that salary comes to the account, it is written as a message that salary is credited. Salary is credited to one's account. Whenever the cash is increasing in the organization, we do make it as a debit. Am I right? When the cash is being received by the organization, what accounting entry do we pass? Debit cash and credit, the other thing through which it is coming. So whenever the cash is increasing in the organization, we have to debit it. On the other side, if the cash is increasing in the bank account of the customer, it has to be credited. Got it? So whatever is going to be debited in the cash book is going to be credited in the bank account, in the bank statement. Whatever is credited in the cash book has to be debited in the bank statement. Mariam, for you, I am repeating all the things in Urdu. बैंक रिकंसिलिएशन स्टेटमेंट एक ऐसी स्टेटमेंट है जो कि बनाई जाती है दो बैलेंसेस को आपस में रिकंसाइल करने के लिए, कंपेयर करने के लिए। एक तरफ हम लोग अपना कैश अकाउंट बनाते हैं जिसमें हमें पता चलता है कि इतनी अमाउंट का कैश हमारे बैंक अकाउंट के अंदर पड़ा हुआ है। एट द एंड ऑफ द सर्टेन टाइम लिमिट बैंक भी एक बैंक स्टेटमेंट बना रहा होता है जो कि वो कस्टमर के बिहाफ पर बनाता है और कस्टमर को भेजता है। आपने देखा होगा अपने इर्द गिर्द अपने पेरेंट्स को कि उनकी बैंक स्टेटमेंट घर आती है। बैंक स्टेटमेंट बैंक ने बनाई होती है ये शो करने के लिए कि किसी भी कस्टमर के अकाउंट में किसी भी वक्त कितने पैसे मौजूद हैं। अब कंसेप्चुअली ये दोनों बैलेंसेस जो कि बैंक स्टेटमेंट पर है और कैश बुक पर जो है वो दोनों सिमिलर होने चाहिए। अगर वो दोनों सिमिलर नहीं है इसका मतलब है कहीं ना कहीं कोई गलती हुई है। उन गलतियों को आपस में उन डिफरेंसेस को रिमूव करना रिकंसिलिएशन कहलाता है। जैसे दो फ्रेंड्स की लड़ाई हो जाती है तो हम कहते हैं हम इनकी रिकंसिलिएशन कराने लगे, हम लोग इनके जो डिफरेंसेस हैं वो रिमूव करने लगे हैं। तो रिकंसिलिएशन का मतलब ये है कि डिफरेंसेस को रिमूव किया जाए। अब आपको ये बात भी समझनी चाहिए कि जब भी हम लोग कैश अकाउंट बना रहे होते हैं या फिर कैश बुक बना रहे होते हैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, तो जब भी कोई चीज कैश के इंक्रीज की वजह बनती है तो हम उसे डेबिट करते हैं। जैसे कहीं से भी कैश रिसीव हो रहा है तो हम लोग उसे कैश बुक के अंदर, कैश अकाउंट के अंदर डेबिट करेंगे। जबकि बैंक स्टेटमेंट के अंदर अगर बैंक अकाउंट कस्टमर का बढ़ रहा है तो उसको वो क्रेडिट करेगा, क्योंकि बैंक के लिए हम लोग पेएबल्स हैं। अगर हमने कोई सेविंग्स बैंक के अंदर रखवाई नहीं है या फिर हमने कोई बैंक अकाउंट ओपन किया है तो जब उस बैंक अकाउंट के अंदर कोई पैसे आएंगे तो वो क्रेडिट किए जाएंगे। जो चीजें हम लोग ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कैश बुक के अंदर डेबिट करते हैं वही चीजें बैंक स्टेटमेंट के अंदर बैंक क्रेडिट करता है, और जो हम लोग चीजें कैश बुक के अंदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस क्रेडिट करती हैं वो बैंक अकाउंट के अंदर बैंक स्टेटमेंट के अंदर डेबिट शो होगी। इसे हम लोग कहते हैं मिरर इमेज व्यू। जो बैंक स्टेटमेंट है वो हमारी कैश बुक का मिरर इमेज व्यू है। Anyhow, at the end of the certain time limits, when the bank statement does come to the organizations do match and compare the balances shown by both of these statements in order to see that whether there are any differences, and if differences are there, they have to be removed. So as you can see in this chapter, we are going to learn that how are we going to compare the cash book balance with the bank statement balance, and how are we going to reconcile if there are any differences present. My dear students, before to carrying on the discussion, you must understand that the balance as per cash book, if this statement is written in the examination without any further more information, you are going to consider it a debit balance, because normally the balance of the asset is debit. So if it's written balance as per cash book, this amount is there and nothing more information is being given to you, you have to consider it as a debit balance. Balance as per cash book, if it is debit balance, it is favorable balance. It means that the organization is having positive amount in its bank account. Balance as per cash book, debit is favorable. Balance as per cash book, if it is going to be a credit balance, it will be shown to you in the examination. If it's a credit balance, you are not going to take any assumption. It will be clearly shown to you in the examination. Or they will say that there is an overdraft balance. Overdraft balance as per cash book means that it is a credit balance. It means that the organization is having certain type of a liability. Overdraft is a short-term liability, current liability of the organization. Got it up till here? Now, on the other hand, balance as per bank statement. If nothing is mentioned, you are going to consider it as a credit balance. If they are not mentioning anything with the balance as per bank statement, you are going to consider it automatically as the credit balance. If balance as per bank statement is credit, is it favorable or unfavorable? Favorable, because it's a mirror image view. If balance as per cash book debit is favorable, balance as per bank statement credit balance is favorable. It means that the organization is going to receive the money from the bank. If the salary is credited in your account, it means it's a good thing. Got it? So balance as per bank statement, if it's credit, it's favorable. And if there is a balance as per bank statement debit, they are going to show it by yourself. You are not automatically going to assume as a debit balance. You are going to be shown in the examination that balance as per bank statement is debit. Balance as per bank statement debit means overdraft. Got it? So this will be our starting point to understand. My online students, I'm sending you the picture, what I have written.
Okay, ma'am.
So this is very easy to understand for you people if you are clear about the previously taught concept. Cash account के ledger के ऊपर जब आप लोगों का debit balance है, so it is favorable. On any asset account, if it's a debit balance, it is favorable for you. Okay. On the same side, if your bank account, if your bank statement is showing a credit balance, that is favorable for you. Anyhow, let's read what they say now. The objective of the bank reconciliation is to reconcile the differences between the cash book balance, that is the business record of their bank account, and the bank statement balance, that is the bank's record of the bank account. The cash book is the double entry record of the cash and bank balances contained within the nominal ledger accounting system. It is in effect the cash control account. Like we have discussed about the receivables control account and the payables control account, cash book itself is a book of prime entry. Okay, so it is basically your cash control account. Note that the debits and credits are reversed in the bank statements because the bank will be recording the transaction from its point of view in accordance with the business entity concept. If for ourselves, for the organization, the bank is a receivable, for bank we are the payables. Okay, now why do the differences arise? The differences can arise in the cash book balance and the bank statement balance because of the three reasons. The first reason is unrecorded items. The second reason is timing differences. And the third and basic reason is error. Unrecorded items are those items which are recorded by the bank account, but not by the organization. Unrecorded items are those which are recorded by, let me just write it for you. Unrecorded items are those which are recorded in bank statement, but not in cash book. What are unrecorded items? Those which bank has recorded already, but not recorded in the cash book. So if it is going to be the reason, the balances are not going to match. What can be these items? Sometimes the organizations are giving the standing orders to the banks that if some customer comes to you and requires you this amount of payment, you can give it directly. So for this reason, the bank is going to record that payment, but the cash book may not be recording that one. Then there are some bank charges as well. Bank charges can be automatically deducted by the bank. Say, for example, when you are withdrawing some amount from the bank, there can be a tax which is going to be levied. Okay, so that is automatically going to be recorded in the bank statement, but might not be in the cash book. So you have to consider this thing in your mind, that unrecorded items are those which are recorded in the bank statement, but not in the cash book. So where are we going to fix them? Unrecorded items in our cash book. In order to reconcile the differences, unrecorded items are going to be written then in the cash book, because in bank statement they have already been written. Then the second type of the difference which is going to be arise is due to the timing. Timing differences are those kinds of the things which are recorded in cash book, but not in the bank statement. These are due to the clearing processing time. Obviously, when you are receiving a check from your receivables, you are going to record it at the same time as your cash. Do you remember the previous discussion? Whenever the check is going to be received, you are going to write an entry. Someone asked me that why do we write debit, cash, and credit payables even when we are receiving the check? Someone asked me. I said that we do consider it as a cash up till the time period when it is cleared from the bank and our bank is going to be increased. Our bank account is going to be increased by that amount. So whenever we are receiving the check, we do submit it to the bank and it takes some time to get cleared. So obviously, due to the timing differences, in the cash book, we have increased our cash account, but in the bank statement, it is going to be credited only when the check is going to be cleared in actual. On the other side, when we do pay some amount of the check to our payables, immediately we record the transaction in our cash book, but it is not going to be debited out of our bank statement until the check is going to be cleared. So the timing differences can arise because of those items which are recorded in the cash book but not in the bank statement. All the unpresented checks or uncleared lodgements or outstanding checks are going to be recorded in the bank statement. Those things, those items which are going to be arise due to the timing differences are then going to be recorded in the bank statement because in the cash book they are already recorded. The third category which is going to arise, which is going to bring any kinds of the differences is due to errors. And errors can occur in both the cash book or in the bank statement. If the error is occurred in the cash book, you have to correct your cash book. If the error has occurred in the bank statement, you have to correct your bank statement. Clear now? मरियम, 3 वजहों से ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की कैश बुक और बैंक स्टेटमेंट जो कि बैंक की तरफ से बनाई गई है वो मैच नहीं हुई, इनके बैलेंसेस चेंज होंगे। सबसे पहली वजह है अनरिकॉर्डेड आइटम्स। ये अनरिकॉर्डेड आइटम्स की कैटेगरी उन डिफरेंसेस के लिए है जो कि बैंक स्टेटमेंट के अंदर रिकॉर्ड हो चुकी हैं बट कैश बुक में रिकॉर्ड नहीं हुई। वो तमाम चीजें जो कि बैंक स्टेटमेंट में रिकॉर्ड हुई हैं और कैश बुक में रिकॉर्ड नहीं हुई वो अनरिकॉर्डेड आइटम्स कहलाएंगे। जैसे कि कभी कभी बैंक अपने चार्जेस डिडक्ट कर लेता है और कस्टमर को पता भी नहीं होता, तो वो चार्जेस जो है वो ऑब्वियसली बैंक स्टेटमेंट में तो रिकॉर्ड हुए होंगे पर हमारी कैश बुक में रिकॉर्ड नहीं हुए होंगे, जिसकी वजह से डिफरेंस अराइज होगा। अनरिकॉर्डेड आइटम्स की एडजस्टमेंट हम लोग कैश बुक में करेंगे इन ऑर्डर टू रिकंसाइल दी डिफरेंसेस। सेकेंड कैटेगरी टाइमिंग डिफरेंसेस की है। ये तमाम तर वो एरर्स होंगे जो कि वो तमाम तर चीजें जो कि हम लोग रिकॉर्ड कर चुके हैं कैश बुक में लेकिन बैंक स्टेटमेंट में रिकॉर्ड नहीं हुई। जैसे कि कोई चेक हम लोग रिसीव करते हैं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन रिसीव करती है तो उससे फौरी तौर पर डेबिट कर लेती है, लेकिन बैंक उससे तब तक क्रेडिट नहीं करेगा जब तक कि वो चेक क्लियर नहीं होगा। इसके अलावा हम लोग जब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कोई चेक पे करती है तो इमीडिएटली उसको क्रेडिट कर लेती है, लेकिन बैंक उसे तब तक डेबिट नहीं करेगा जब तक कि वो चेक वाकई में ही क्लियर नहीं होगा। टाइमिंग डिफरेंसेस जो भी अराइज होंगे उनकी एडजस्टमेंट बैंक स्टेटमेंट में होगी, कैश बुक के अंदर नहीं होगी। थर्ड कैटेगरी है डिफरेंसेस की एरर्स। ये एरर्स बैंक अकाउंट में भी हो सकते हैं, बैंक स्टेटमेंट में भी हो सकते हैं और कैश बुक में भी हो सकते हैं। अगर ये एरर्स कैश बुक के अंदर है तो कैश बुक में एडजस्टमेंट होगी, अगर ये एरर्स बैंक स्टेटमेंट में है तो बैंक स्टेटमेंट में एडजस्टमेंट होगी। I hope that everyone is clear up till here. Hazel, are you clear dear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay, now students, let's read what they say over here. When attempting to reconcile the cash book with the bank statement, there are 3 differences between the cash book and bank statement. Number 1 is unrecorded items, number 2 is timing differences, and number 3 is errors. Now they are elaborating all of these, but I have already discussed in detail. Unrecorded items, these are the items which arise in the bank statement before they are recorded in the cash book. So all those items which are recorded in the bank statement but not in the cash book are unrecorded items. Such unrecorded items may include interest, bank charges, dishonored checks. Whenever the check is going to be dishonored, who is the first party who is coming to know that the check is being dishonored? Obviously bank. So when the check is going to be dishonored, immediately bank is going to record it. But cash book, in the cash book, it is going to be recorded later, only after the information comes to the site of the organization. So unrecorded items can be interest, bank charges, dishonored checks. It is the interest which is charged by the bank. This is not the other kind of the interest. This is the interest which is automatically charged by the bank. They are not recorded in the cash book simply because the business does not know that these items have arisen until it receives and reviews the bank statement. The cash book must be adjusted to reflect these items. So for unrecorded items, we have to make an adjustment in our cash book because in the bank statement, they are already recorded. Then the second category, as we have discussed, is timing differences. Okay, before to that, they have included an understanding here. Let's start doing it. They say on which side of the cash book should the following unrecorded items to be posted. We have understood that for unrecorded items, which thing has to be adjusted? Our cash book. Very good. So they are asking that for these given unrecorded items, which side of the cash book is going to be adjusted? One by one, everyone is going to tell me about each case. Bank charges. Afa, where are we going to adjust bank charges in the cash book? Very good, excellent. Obviously, bank charges are reducing our cash. Whatever is going to decrease our cash account, we are going to credit it. Excellent. So bank charges are going to be credited in our cash book. Direct debits of standing orders. Samiha, where are we going to adjust them? It's your luck that difficult thing has come to you. Direct debits, where are we going to adjust them? Debit? Look, what are direct debits? Direct debits are those things which are going to arise because of our standing orders. Sometimes we do request our bank that please, if someone comes to you and asks for this much amount of the payment, our this customer with this identity, you can give that amount to him or her without our permission, without our acknowledgement. So that is known as a standing order, and bank is directly going to debit our account. Direct debit means that bank is debiting our account. Bank has directly debited our account. So if it's a direct debit, because our cash book is the mirror image view, we have to credit it. If there is a direct debit, we are going to credit it. If there is a direct credit, we are going to debit it. Direct debit means that bank has debited our account. Got it? And direct credit means that bank has credited our account. So if bank has debited our account, if it's a direct debit, you are going to credit it in your cash. Got it? मरियम, अगर डायरेक्ट डेबिट आएगा तो वो आपने कैश बुक के अंदर क्रेडिट करना है. अगर डायरेक्ट क्रेडिट आएगा तो वो आपने अपनी कैश बुक के अंदर डेबिट करना है, क्योंकि आपकी कैश बुक मिरर इमेज व्यू है बैंक स्टेटमेंट की. Okay, now look, the next one they have given direct credits. So direct credit is going to be debit then in our cash book. Okay, then dishonored checks received from the customers. Aisha, what are we going to do with them? Direct check, dishonored checks received from customers.
Ma'am, credit.
We are going to credit them. What is a dishonored check? Who can tell me what is a bounced check? Simple. In our normal language, we do call these dishonored checks as the bounced checks. If, say, for example, the customer has given you a check that you can clear your amount with the help of that check, and you submit that check in your bank account in the bank, they say that the customer does not have the enough money to fulfill this check amount. It means that your check is dishonored. So whenever the check is going to be dishonored, which is received from the customer, your bank account is going to be credited. Bank account means cash book is going to be credited. Got it? And your bank statement is going to be debited. Why? When you receive a check from the customer, when you receive a check, what is an accounting entry? Debit, cash, and credit, receivable, is it? Whenever you are receiving the check or the cash amount from your receivable. When the check is going to be dishonored, you are going to reverse this accounting entry. Dishonored, you are going to reverse this accounting entry. Receivables are going to be debited again because you have to receive that money from them. And you are going to credit cash. So that is why whenever there is a dishonored check, if you remember the receivable control account, in dishonored check, in the case of receivable control account, we debit it. In the case of the cash book, we credit it because of this accounting entry. Got it? So dishonored check is going to be credited in your cash book. Okay, bank interest received. Hey sir, what are we going to do with this in our cash book?
Debit, ma'am.
debit. We are going to debit. Since bank interest which we are going to receive is going to increase our cash book balance, that is why we are going to debit it. I hope that everyone is clear about it. Students, shall I send a picture for this or is it fine?
Ma'am, picture.
Okay, sure. Okay, now students, the second type of the differences which can arise are timing differences errors. As I told you that timing differences are going to be those things which have been recorded in your cash book, but not in the bank statement. So they say these items have been recorded in the cash book, but due to the bank clearing process have not yet been recorded in the bank statement. And these can be of two categories. In the exam also, you are going to get only these two in regards to the timing differences. First one is outstanding or unpresented check. My dear students, unpresented or outstanding checks have to be debited. Please write this point, because if you are not clear about these debits and credits in bank reconciliation, you will be very confused in the examination. So you must be understanding. I have seen some tutors who are just giving a proper format, one format to the students to deal with the bank reconciliation statement questions, but I do not find that feasible one. Because in accountancy, we do not have to go for plus and minus. We have to go in accordance with the debit and credit. So you must be knowing that what is going to be debited and what is going to be credited. Anyhow, outstanding checks or unpresented checks, if they are going to be presented to you, you are going to be debiting them in your bank statement, because for timing differences, we have to adjust our bank statement. So unpresented checks or outstanding checks are going to be debited. These are basically those checks which we are giving to our payables, which the organization is giving to its payables. So whenever to the payables, we are going to make the payment, we are going to credit our cash book immediately at the time of the payment. But bank is going to be taking that amount out of your bank statement, out of your bank account, once they are going to be cleared. So that is why once the information comes to the site of the bank, they do debit your account because of those outstanding or unpresented checks. That is why we debit. When the bank statement is going to be reduced, we are going to debit it. Got it? Outstanding checks or unpresented checks are the same ones. These are the checks sent to the suppliers but not yet cleared by the bank. Then we have outstanding or uncleared lodgements. See the difference. Outstanding, if in the exam they say outstanding check, they are meaning to tell you unpresented checks. Unpresented checks same hai outstanding checks ke saath. Outstanding check और unpresented check एक ही चीज है. जबकि outstanding lodgement is the different thing. It is opposite to outstanding check. Outstanding lodgement or unclear checks are those which you have received from your customers and the organization has already debited them. The organization has already debited them in the cash book, but the bank has not yet credited them in your bank statement. So that is why unclear checks are going to be credited in the bank statement. Students, sometimes outstanding or uncleared lodgements do also be called as uncredited checks. In the exam, with this third name also, they can call these types of the checks. Outstanding lodgements or uncleared lodgements, checks received by the business but not yet cleared by the bank. So if there are outstanding or unpresented checks, you are going to debit them in your bank statement. If there are outstanding lodgements or unclear checks, you are going to credit them in your bank statement. I hope that everyone is cleared up till here. Okay, so they have given us the pro forma as well. Students, this is the pro forma of bank reconciliation statement. Bank balance as per bank statement. If nothing is mentioned with the balance as per bank statement, what does that mean? I told you, it's written over there. If nothing is mentioned with the balance as per bank statement, it's a credit balance. Outstanding unpresented checks do have the debit balance. That is why they are going to be deducted. From credit, debit has to be deducted. Outstanding or uncleared lodgements are going to be credited. In credit, credit is going to be added. And you are going to get the balance as per cash book revised. Students, if balance as per bank statement is credit, you are going to get the balance as per cash book debit one. Opposite. It's a mirror image view. If it's a balance as per bank statement credit, ultimately the balance as per cash book which you are getting will be debit. Clear? Why I do want you people to learn the things with the regards of debit and credit, because if the balance as per bank statement is debit, these are going to be reversed. Got it? If say for example, balance as per bank statement has been debit, it's a unfavorable balance for us. Then in debit is going to be added. You cannot deduct the unpresented checks from that then. Because in debit has to be added and then credit is going to be deducted. Clear? That is why you have to learn these things as per debit and credit. I hope that you are clear. Yes, online students, are you cleared?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, students, the third category of the differences can be due to the errors. If the errors are in the cash book, you have to adjust your cash book. If the errors are in the bank statement, then bank statement has to be adjusted. So they say the business may make a mistake in their cash book. The cash book balance will needs to be adjusted for these items. Errors in the bank statement, the bank may make mistake, that is recorded transaction relating to a different person within our business bank account. The bank statement balance will need to be adjusted for these items. So simply, if errors are made in the cash book has to be adjusted. If errors are going to be made in the bank statement, then bank statement has to be adjusted. Now, how are you going to cater the questions in regards to the bank reconciliation statement? Students, they will be telling you the balance as per cash book and the balance as per bank statement. Both the balances will be shown to you. And you will see that both the balances are not the same. For cash book, you are going to make this pro forma, you are going to make the cash ledger account. You are going to write the balance which they have given. If they have given you the debit balance, on which side you are going to write? If they say that balance as per cash book is debit, on which side you are going to write it then, students? Credit side. Debit balance means it has to be written on the credit side, students. This is, please do not confuse it in regards to the closing and opening balances, because you have to reconcile the differences first. Okay, if they are telling you that balance as per cash book is debit, you are going to write it on the credit side. Credit side, it means that it is a debit balance. Got it? Getting my point? And then you have to make the adjustments. After making the adjustments, if there are any errors, if there are any kind of unrecorded items, after making all these adjustments, you are going to calculate the revised balance. Revised balance you are going to get, if it's a revised balance credit, you have to write it on the debit side. If it's a debit balance, you are going to write it on the credit side. After this, you are going to make the adjustments in your bank statement as well. Balance as per bank statement will be given to you. If nothing is mentioned, you are going to consider it as the credit balance. Credit balance, you are going to consider it, and outstanding checks. What are outstanding checks? The other name for outstanding checks is unpresented checks. you are going to debit them. Outstanding lodgements. What are outstanding lodgements? Unclear checks, uncredited checks. Uncredited checks are going to be credited, and if there are any kind of errors being made in the bank statement, you are going to adjust those. After making those adjustments, you are going to get the balance as per cash book revised. Now, this balance and the balance as per your revised cash book must be same. After reconciling the differences, both these have to be same. They say in the last, note that the bank balance on the statement of financial position is the balance as per revised cash book. You know, ultimately the cash is taken to the statement of financial position as your asset. So which amount do you take to your SOFP? Finally, this revised balance after the differences. Now, students, understanding number 2 is there. Let's start doing it. The requirement of the question is here. Which of these items will require an entry in the cash book? Which of these items will require an entry in the cash book? For which kinds of differences, students, we do make an entry in the cash book? Excellent. For unrecorded items. So simply you have to identify the unrecorded items out of these. They say in preparing an entity's bank reconciliation statement, the accountant finds the following items are causing a difference between the cash book balance and the bank statement balance. Direct debit. Where are we going to adjust direct debit, students? Credit side of the? Excellent. So this is going to be recorded, adjusted in our cash book. Okay. Then lodgements not credited. Uncredited checks. Where do we adjust them? These are timing differences. Lodgements, outstanding lodgements or uncredited checks are going to be adjusted in bank statement. Very good. So not going to be adjusted in the cash book. Then check paid in by the entity and dishonored. Dishonored checks. Very good. In cash book, we are going to adjust. Outstanding checks. The other name for outstanding checks is unpresented checks. Where do we adjust them? Very good. In bank statement. Excellent. Bank charges. Excellent. In the cash book, we do adjust them. Errors by bank. Errors which are made by the bank are going to be adjusted in the bank statement. Obviously not done by the cash book. Okay. So errors by the bank are going to be recorded, are going to be adjusted by the bank itself. So which items are going to be recorded in the cash book? Only item number 1, 3, and 5. The others are going to be adjusted in the bank statement. So yes, option B is the right one. 1, 3, and 5. Okay, now students, next understanding is there. Let's read the question first. The requirement of the question is, what balance is shown on the bank statement as at 31st December 2006? They are requiring us to calculate the balance as per bank statement on 31st December 2006. Now, sometimes they are asking you to do the reverse working. What are the pro formas which we have discussed? One is about the adjustment in the cash book. Like this, we are going to make the account and we are going to make the adjustments. And the other one is for the bank statement, in which we do start with balance as per bank statement, is it? Then we have unpresented or outstanding checks, which are going to be debited. Then we have outstanding or unclear lodgements, which are going to be credited. And we do get the revised balance as per cash flow. Is this what we have studied? But over here, they are asking you to calculate this amount. It means that you have to do the reverse working. So they are asking what balance is shown on the bank statement as at 31st December 2006. Okay, let's start reading the question. The following is a summary of Amy's cash book as presented to you for the month of December 2006. The bank account is given to us. And which balance is being shown to you? Credit balance. This is the credit balance. So you are going to start. Please write it somewhere because you have to make the adjustments. Balance as per bank account which is being shown is 554. And this one is the credit balance. Got it? This is the credit balance. Okay, then all receipts are banked and payments made by the check. Upon investigation, you discover bank charges, checks drawn, a check of 22, a check drawn for 6. So you have written the balance and now start making the adjustment. According to this Forma, start doing your working, students. This balance will be written on the cash book and then you have to make the adjustment, students. Students, if you are confused anywhere, you can ask me. Done, Afaq? Not getting it? Okay, let's start it together. Students, first balance as per bank account which they have calculated is 554 credit. Okay, so we have to start working with that. So we are going to write the balance, credit balance. Balance carried down or carried forward is 554. And in that we have to make the adjustments. Okay, clear up till here? So you have to write it on the opposite side. It's a credit balance. Okay, it's a credit balance. It's called as a credit balance. So on your cash book, you are going to write it on the credit side. Okay, now all receipts are banked and payments made by checks. Upon investigation, you discovered bank charges of 136 entered on the bank statement had not been entered in the cash book. So where are we going to enter them? In the cash book. They have been entered in the bank statement but not in the cash book. They are bank charges. Bank charges are going to reduce the cash balance. So we are going to write them on the credit side of the cash book. Bank charges. Clear? 136. Then checks drawn amounting to 267 had not been presented to the bank for payment. Which checks are these? Unpresented checks. We have credited them, but bank has not debited them. Checks drawn. Checks drawn means that we have made a payment. Checks drawn amounting to 267 had not been presented to bank for payment. So these are unpresented checks. They are giving you the hint by adding the name of presentation over it. So it means that 267 will be the unpresented checks. 267 is going to be debited from the bank statement. Got it? Then students, a check of 22 had been entered as a receipt in the cash book instead of a payment. So in the cash book, we have made a mistake. What mistake we have done? Entered as a receipt in the cash book instead of payment. We had to record a payment of 22, but we have recorded it as a receipt on the other hand. Is it? So instead of writing it as a payment, we have recorded it as a receipt. So in order to correct this error, we are going to write it on the credit side. Is it? So incorrectly debited. How much amount are we going to credit now? 22? No. If we are going to credit 22, it will cancel the previous error only. But we have to record the payment as well. 22 is going to cancel the previous error and 44, double the amount, is going to be reinstating that. Got it now? So 44 is going to be, got it now? 44 is going to be credited in the cash book. Then a check drawn for 6 has been incorrectly entered in the cash book as 66. What are we going to do with that? A check drawn for 6 has been incorrectly entered in the cash book as 66. Yes, anyone, please. The fourth one, Aisha, Rabia, Mariam, Hizr. A check drawn for 6 had been incorrectly entered in the cash book as 66.
Ma'am, on debit side?
On debit side, why are we going to write it on the debit side?
Because ma'am is incorrectly entered in the cash book.
Students, a check drawn means that we have made a payment. Got it? A check has been drawn for $6 only, but we have recorded the amount of 66. Instead of crediting only for 6, we have credited 66. It means that 60 has to be reinstated. 60 has to be debited in our cash. Got it? Incorrectly, we have credited it as 66. So the 60 amount is going to be debited. So what we are going to write? Incorrectly credited. So we are going to debit an amount of 60. Now you have to calculate the revised balance as per cash book. Tell me how much revised balance is there? Now do the remaining working, students. How much balance did you get, students? Revised balance is how much? 670. So this revised, this is which kind of balance is it? Which balance is it? Debit or credit? Credit balance. So revised balance as per cash book, credit is how much? 674. Got it? We do not have any kind of unclear lodgements, only this adjustment had to be made. So now tell me what should be the balance as per bank statement, students? What should be the balance as per bank statement? Tell me. Should it be debit or credit? Balance as per bank statement. Why? Credit? Why? If the balance as per cash book is credit, balance as per bank statement should be debit. Mirror image view. It should be debit. And how much? Balance as per cash book credit means that it's a negative amount. Is it? If it's a debit balance, unpresented outstanding checks are going to be added in them. Is it? Because both are debited. From credit, this debit is going to be deducted, which will be giving us the balance as per bank statement. So minus 674 plus 267. $267 was the amount over there. Wait. Do you have scientific calculator, students? Let me just. It's do it like minus 674 plus 267. Yes, it's 407. 407 negative you are going to get. Did you get the same? Because only with the scientific calculator or from your mobile phones also you can get it. So it is 407 negative. Okay. Clear, everyone? So it will be negative. Why do we show it negative? Because it's an unfavorable balance. Balance as per bank statement, debit is negative. Got it, everyone? Which option is the right one, students? The option D is the right one, and it's an overdraft balance. Overdraft balance is an unfavorable balance for us. That means a credit balance as per cash. So have a look at this question once again, and if you have any confusion, please let me know. For my online students, I'm sending you the picture. Mariam, are you cleared?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Students, may I erase it? What were you not getting in this question? Which one? This ledger account? Are you clear now? Okay, students, let's move on. This chapter has been ended. In revision kit, you are going to find the questions on the bank reconciliation statement. A lot of questions are there, but in your book, there are no more. Okay. Now, students, the next chapter which we are starting is trial balance, errors, and suspense account. I told you that trial balance is not a part of the double entry system. As per the control system of an organization, in accordance with the control activities of the organization, we do make the trial balance. The trial balance is normally being made in order to ensure that there are no problems or no errors in our audit trail, in our books of prime entry, in our ledger accounts, and anywhere else, so that we can then move on to the making of financial statements. ट्रायल बैलेंस बनाया जाता है बुक्स ऑफ प्राइम एंट्री और लेजर अकाउंट्स बनाने के बाद नॉर्मली ये चीज इंश्योर करने के लिए कि कोई गलतियां वगैरह हमारी पिछले अकाउंट्स के अंदर ना हो और हम लोग टेंशन फ्री होके अपनी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स बना सकें. So as we have discussed in accounting cycle, first we do prepare books of prime entry, then ledger accounts, then trial balance. After making trial balance, if there are any kinds of the errors which have come to our side, are going to be adjusted, adjustments are going to be made, and then financial statements are going to be made. My dear students, trial balance is a very simple kind of a statement in which all the debits are going to be shown in one column and all the credits from the ledger accounts are going to be shown in the another column. Whenever we are going to close off our ledger accounts, we will be finding either the debit balances or the credit balances. All the debited balances from our ledger accounts are going to be posted in one column in the trial balance, and all the credit balances are going to be shown on the other column of the trial balance. And both the columns have to be same. It means that as per the rules of the double entry system, our debits and credits must be equal to each other. So we do make the trial balance normally in order to ensure that there are no errors being made in our books of prime entry or ledger accounts. And if our debits and credits are equal to each other, we can move to the other stage, next stage of making the financial statements. But it is not every time possible that if your trial balance is matching, it means that your books of accounts are error-free. Even if your trial balance is being matched, there can be some errors which can be present in your books of prime entry and ledger accounts. It means that there are some errors due to which trial balance is not going to match, and there are some errors due to which even if the errors have occurred, the trial balance is still going to be matched. Anyhow, most of the errors are going to be caught while making trial balance, but some cannot be. So for that, for that catching of errors, we have to do the detailed analysis if there is possibility to do that. In this chapter, we are going to learn about that concept, the trial balance, and by making the trial balance, there are some errors where still the trial balance balances, and errors where the trial balance does not balance. We are going to look at the concept of the suspense account, and we are going to look at the correction or rectification of the errors and their impact on the correcting journal on profit. Now, what is a trial balance? As I've elaborated, they are writing it over here also. They say at the end of the year, once all ledger accounts have been balanced off, the closing balances are summarized on the long list of balances. This is referred to as a trial balance. Students, when we do make the ledger accounts, after that, we do make a simple trial balance. There are two columns in the trial balance, debit and credit. From the ledgers, the balances are posted in that trial balance. And ultimately, we do find that both the sides of the trial balance must be matching with each other. They say all the closing debit balances are summarized in one column and the closing credit balance in the other. Given the nature of the double entry system described in this text, the totals of both the columns should agree. If not, the discrepancy must be investigated and corrected. So they are telling you that for theoretical purposes, we do tell this thing to the students, that trial balance is being made. If there are no errors, it means that we can head to the making of financial statements. This is another control in the accounting system to ensure that the balances reported in the financial statements are accurate. The layout of the trial balance is illustrated below. How does the trial balance looks? This is how the trial balance looks. The trial balance as at 31st December 2005, revenue is an income. Income has the credit balance, normal. Purchases, expense, debit. Administrative expense, debit. Non-current asset, debit. Trade receivables, debit. Cash, debit. Share capital is equity, credit. Loan is liability, credit. Trade payable is liability, credit. So ultimately, your debits and credits must be equal to each other. Now, students, the process of preparing the financial statements. How does you normally see the financial statements are being made up? First, the transactions are recorded in the ledger accounts. Before to that, the books of prime entry. Then ledger accounts are balanced and closed off. From those balances, we do make the trial balance. If there are any kind of adjustments required, year-end adjustments are going to be made and trial balance used to prepare the financial statements. Examination questions may draw on any particular stage of this process. So in your examination, in any part of the process, the question can come. Now, here they are just revising the concepts for you. They are requiring you to pass the journal entries for these transactions, making the ledger accounts, and then extract the trial balance. Students, can you try doing this by yourself, or shall I start doing it? Okay, I will pass on the accounting entries, and you have to make the ledger accounts by yourself. Okay, 1 or 2 ledger accounts I will be making. The rest you have to make. GAT company commenced business in the first 9 days of the trading. The following transactions occurred. 1st January, it issued 10,000 share capital for cash. January 1st, what happened? Share capital has been issued for cash. Above, what accounting entry are we going to make for this? Capital introduced in the business. It issued 10,000 share capital for cash. Samiha? Excellent. Debit cash. How much amount? 10,000. And credit? Capital account with an amount of 10,000. Then January 2, it purchased goods for $4,000 and paid by check. Here's what accounting entry? It purchased goods for $4,000 and paid by check. Mariam, what accounting entry?
Ma'am, debit purchases, credit payables.
Pays by check. It purchases goods, 4,000 and pay by check. It's not a credit transaction.
Credit cash.
Yes. Students, it's really disappointing that you are still not knowing the accounting entries. It means that all of our effort is in vain. All of our effort is in vain. Now I'm getting disappointed. I have written all those accounting entries and given you people so that you can just memorize them. If you are not understanding the concepts, then really it's disappointing. At this stage, you are not clear about the cash transaction and about the credit transaction. It purchased goods for 4,000 and pay by check. They have paid it in the form of the check. Debit is going to be purchases. Account and the amount is $4,000 and credit will be bank account or cash account, whatever is feasible, you can do. 3rd January, it bought a delivery van for $2,000 and paid by check. It bought a delivery van for $2,000 and paid by check. Excellent. Very good. So January 3, debit is going to be non-current asset account with an amount of 2,000 and credit will be bank account. This is 2,000, okay? Okay, then January 4, it purchased $1,000 of goods on credit. Rabia?
Credit, ma'am.
It purchased $1,000 of goods on credit. What accounting entry are we going to pass?
Purchases.
Yes, purchases is what? What accounting entry are we going to pass for this? Debit, what, and credit, what?
Purchases, credit.
Very bad. Students, really at this condition, we cannot hope even passing the exam. Telling you very honestly. Very honestly, what I feel, tell me honestly, you people are not revising. Not revising? Afaq, are you revising? Are you revising really? If someone is telling at this stage that purchases are going to be credited, what can I do then? Debit purchases and credit is going to be payables. And credit? Payables, 1,000. Okay, then January 5, it sold goods for 1,500 cash. Samiha? Very good, excellent. Debit cash, how much amount? 1,500 and credit will be sales account. Very good. Okay, then January 6, it sold all remaining goods for 5,000 on credit. Yes, Afaq? Very good, excellent. January 6, debit receivables and credit sales account, an amount of $5,000. Okay, January 7, it paid $800 to suppliers by check. Yes, Mariam? It paid $800 to suppliers by check.
Debit cash.
It paid $800 to suppliers by check.
Debit expense, credit cash.
No. Debit payables, credit cash. Students in accountancy, you cannot memorize the revision kit questions to pass the exam. They are not going to give you the question straight away from the revision kit. Telling you. Debit payables, credit cash. It paid $800 to suppliers by check. So you can, it's good if you can credit bank account. Anyhow, the amount is $800. Okay, then it paid the last one, January 8th. It paid rent of 200 by check. Aisha. It paid rent of $200 by check. Aisha, are you there? Okay, Afaq. It paid rent of $200 by check. Very good. Excellent. Debit, rent expense, and credit with the bank account. How much amount? $200. Now, students, we have to make the ledger accounts. First ledger account which we are going to make is cash account. Can we make the cash account? Can I make a small cash account here? Cash account, okay? Debit and credit. One by one, Samiha and Afaq are going to tell that what entries we are going to make to the ledger account. The first one, Samiha. Debit capital, very good. 10,000. So we are done with this. Okay, then we have cash over here. Is it? Yes, Afaq? Very good. On the debit side, we are going to write sales with an amount of 1,500. Yes, Samiha? We do not have cash anymore, so we are going to close it. Afaq, how are we going to close it? And the total of the heavier side is going to be written on both sides. So we are going to write 11,500 on both sides. Then we have to extract the balance. On which side we are going to write the balance? On the right side. This will be known as balance carried down. How much balance is it going to be? 11,500, since there is no other thing in this account. So we are done with this. Now the next account which we can make is bank account. Or we can make capital account. One by one we can deal with all accounts. What are we going to do with this capital account? On the credit side, we are going to write cash with an amount of 10,000. No more entry in regards to the capital. We are going to close this account as well. 10,000 and 10,000. Balance on this account is how much? 10,000. Got it? Then the next account which we can make is purchases. Sorry for dirty working students. Actually, I do not want to erase this all because we have to make the trial balance then. Purchases account we have to make debit and credit. Purchases are getting debited. On the debit side, we are going to write how much? 4,000. Name of the opposite account is bank. Are there any purchases? Yes, over here as well. Purchases are getting debited and the name of the opposite account is payables. How much? 1,000. Then we do have purchases. No more purchases. We are going to close this account. If there are any, please let me know, students. No purchases are there. We are going to close this. Balance carried down of 5,000. Clear up to here? The next account which we can make is bank account. Can I make it here? Okay, bank account. The second entry is getting credited. The name of the opposite account is purchases and it is 4,000. Then In the other entry, it is again getting credited. The name of the other account is non-current asset and the amount is 2,000. Then we do have bank account here again. It is getting credited. The name of the opposite account is payables account and it is 800. Again, in the last accounting entry, it is getting credited. The name of the opposite account is rent. How much it is? 200. We are going to close it. Add it all, 4,000 plus 2,000, 6,000. 6,000 plus 800 plus 200 is 7,000. 7,000 will be written on both sides. And the balance on this account is 7,000. Clear? Now we have to make the other accounts. Please make non-current asset account by your own. Students, now you have to make non-current asset account by yourself. You have to make payables account. Cash has been done, but sales account has to be made. Sales account has to be made then by you. Then you have to make receivables account. And the last account which you have to make is rent expense account. Please make all these accounts, students. Students, what balance did you get on the non-current asset account? 2,000. Which other account have you made? Was it a debit balance in non-current asset? Yes, debit balance. Which next account you have made, students? Payables you have made. What balance did you get on payables? 200. Debit or credit? Credit. Did you get 200 for payables?
Yes, ma'am.
Payables are these also, students. 1,000 these payables, yes, 200 should be you should be getting. 1,000 credited and 800 debited. 200. Okay, then which next account have you made, students?
Receivable.
So non-current assets you have made, payables you have made. Sales have you made? How much balance did you get on sales? 6,000. Credit 6,000. Okay, then the next one. Receivables have you made? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. 5,000.
5,000 debit.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And the last one, rent expense. Debit 200. Please add both the sides. They should be equal. No, they are not equal, students. There is some mistake which has been done. in calculations or somewhere because they have to be equal. Is it 11,500? 4,000, 2,000? Please recheck your calculations as well and whether we have put any wrong amount. Purchases have we put? We have not put purchases. Purchases are missing in our trial balance. Purchases are 5,000, is it? Now see, because the trial balance has to be matched. Students, are you getting the same amounts? No? On the trial balance, have you put the amount? No, both the sides are not equal. Yes, that I know. But have you done the calculations the same manner? I have to quickly review it. Wait. Debit, cash, credit, capital, okay. 10,000 purchases plus 4,000 pay by check, purchases bank 4,000, delivery van 2,000. In non-current asset students, what balance did you get? 2,000. It's 2,000 students. 2,000 debit, okay, non-current asset debit. Purchased goods for 1,000 on credit, 1,000, okay, January 5, it's sold for 1,500 cash. Good. January 6, it's sold all remaining goods for 5,000 on credit. Fine. It paid 800 to suppliers by check. Fine. It paid rent 200 by check. Fine. Okay, then we have make cash account, debit, and done 10,000 and then 1,500. Okay, this is fine. 11,500. Then we have made bank account. Bank account has been getting credited 4,000. Then with 2,000. Then with 800. And then with 200. 4, 5, 6, 7,000. Cash balance, bank balance, did we have right 7,000? And cash balance we have written as 11,500. These two are fine. Then we had made capital account, credit 10,000. That too is fine. Purchases account. Purchases are getting debited 4,000. Then purchases are getting debited with 1,000, 5,000. Purchases have we written debit 5,000. Students, my accounts are fine. Those which you have told me, maybe there is some mistake in those. These are all fine. Accounting entries are also fine. Sorry. This bank balance is credit balance. It's not debit. Normally it's debit, but we are getting it as credit. 7,000. That is the credit balance. See your workings as well. Done now? Yes. So bank balance has been credit. Normally it's a debit balance, but here we have got it as a credit balance. So students, now we are going to resume our class after the break and we are going to look at the errors. Now what I require from you students, I have given you the mock exams for F3, for chapter 1 to 12. What you have to do when you are going to be in the next class, you should have solved all those questions on your own. Okay, because not in the next week, but in the another week, we are going to discuss those in class. But mocks have to be done by yourself first from your homes, and then we are going to discuss them in class. Okay, so now it's your responsibility, it's your homework. Please, I do not want to listen no from anyone of your side that when you are going to come to the next class, if I'm going to ask you that whether you have revised, whether you have done, please say yes to me. Otherwise, telling you honestly, by today's practice, I have found that you are not, most of you are not clear about the basic concepts up till now. Okay, so please, obviously, a collaborative effort is going to work. Okay, so you have to revise the concepts continuously now, from now onwards. Okay, then students, we are going to have a break. After the break, we are going to resume class.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, my online students, shall we resume class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I hope that everyone is cleared in regards to the trial balance. My online students, I just request you to start taking the on-campus classes because these days are now very important, okay? Whatever we have done in the past 3 months is separate, and whatever we are going to do in these days is having its significance. Okay, so please, I just request you to attend all the classes on campus and now become very serious, okay, towards your studies. Okay, now students, now the topic which we are going to start is regarding errors. As we have discussed that in our accounting records, we can make errors, and trial balance is one of the way to catch those errors which we have made in our accounting records. But even after making trial balance, there are some errors which cannot be caught by the bookkeepers of the organization. So we simply say that the errors in the accounting records can be categorized into two. What are those categories? Errors due to which the trial balance is not going to agree, and those errors due to which the trial balance will still agree. मरियम, कुछ एरर्स ऐसे होंगे हमारे अकाउंटिंग रिकॉर्ड्स के अंदर जिनको करने के बाद हमारा ट्रायल बैलेंस मैच नहीं होगा, डेबिट और क्रेडिट इक्वल नहीं होंगे, लेकिन कुछ एरर्स ऐसे भी हैं कि वो करने के बावजूद हमारा ट्रायल बैलेंस अग्री कर जाता है, ट्रायल बैलेंस इक्वल होता है, मैच कर रहे होते हैं कॉलम्स, लेकिन एरर्स फिर भी मौजूद होते हैं. So they say errors can fall into two categories: errors where the trial balance still balances, errors where the trial balance does not balance. First, we are going to look at the first category, that is errors where the trial balance still balances. My dear students, we do know that in our accounting records in double entry system, we are playing with debit and credit, is it? So when all the debits are equal to the credits, it means that your trial balance is going to agree. Am I right? If you are doing some mistake which is going to be drafted on the debit and credit side both, it means that even after doing that error, your trial balance is going to agree. Simply speaking, when you are making an accounting entry and you have made a mistake in the whole accounting entry, that your debit is also wrong and your credit account is also wrong, it means that even after doing that error, your trial balance is going to agree because it is on both the sides of an accounting entry. So simply speaking, the errors in which the trial balance is still going to agree will obviously be occurring on both the sides of the accounts. We have maybe omitted all of the accounting entry. There is no debit and there is no credit, trial balance is going to agree. Maybe you have made some kind of the error with the same amount on both the sides of an accounting entry, your trial balance is still going to agree. Maybe you have made a wrong entry in one account and you have made the same amount wrong entry in the other account as well. They are going to compensate each other. Effects are going to be cancelled. Your trial balance is still going to agree. So those errors which will still make your trial balance to agree are obviously those ones which have been done on both the sides, debit and credit both. Whereas the other category which we are going to discuss in detail in our next part over there you are going to see that those will be done on one side, whether the debit is affected wrongly or the credit is affected. That is why your trial balance is not going to agree. So let's see errors where trial balance still balances. There are some types of the errors in which trial balance is still going to agree. First one is error of omission. Error of omission is an error in which an accounting entry is completely going to be omitted from the records. हम लोग एक accounting entry को पूरी तरह से ही record नहीं करेंगे अपने accounts के अंदर. That is error of omission. Omission means an entry being omitted completely. Say, for example, we have purchased something from the payables, debit purchases, credit payables. We have not recorded this accounting entry at all in our records. We have omitted this accounting entry. This is error of omission. Now, in this case, what is going to happen? On the debit side, no entry is recorded. On the credit side, no, nothing is recorded. Your trial balance is still going to agree. So they say a transaction has been completely omitted from the accounting records. That is, a cash sale of $100 was not recorded. Now, my dear, the second error type is error of commission. Listen to me carefully. There are 5 heads of accounting. We do know assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. If we have done an accounting entry in the right head, but under a head, a wrong account is being selected, it's an error of commission. Getting my point? Say, for example, assets are of different kinds. Am I right? Cash is an asset, receivable is also an asset, land and buildings are also assets. So we do have different kinds of assets. If we have taken a head in the right place, but under that head of accounting, we have done a mistake, that is an error of commission. Say, for example, we have purchased a land, but instead of debiting land, we have debited motor vehicles. Now, in the same accounting head, in the asset, instead of debiting motor vehicle, instead of debiting land and buildings, we have debited motor vehicle. So our debits and credits are still going to be equal because we have debited asset, but a wrong category of the asset has been taken. This is an error of commission. Got it? Where the head of account out of the 5 heads is the correct one, but under that head, the category which we have selected is the wrong one. On the other side also, we have credit, liabilities also. Liabilities, normal balance is credit. Under liabilities, we have loan also, we have payables also. So instead of crediting payables, if we are crediting loan, our liabilities are going to be equal, but our head of account is going to be but our category of the liability will be the different one. So where the head of account is correct, but under that head, the category is wrong, it is error of commission. Now again, our debits are going to be equal to credit, but still the mistake has been done. Got it? So what they say about error of commission? A transaction has been recorded in the wrong account. Rates expense 500 has been debited to the rent account in error. Now rates are also expense and rent is also expense. Instead of debiting rate, we have debited rent. Mariam, error of commission क्या है? आपका हेड ऑफ अकाउंट बिल्कुल ठीक होगा, पर कैटेगरी हेड के अंदर गलत होगी. जैसे आपने जिस तरह इन्होंने इधर एग्जांपल दी हुई है कि इंस्टेड ऑफ डेबिटिंग रेट एक्सपेंस, हम लोग अगर डेबिट कर रहे हैं रेंट, तो हमारी कैटेगरी तो बिल्कुल, हमारी जो हेड ऑफ अकाउंट है एक्सपेंस का, वो तो बिल्कुल ठीक है, पर कैटेगरी ऑफ एक्सपेंस गलत हो गई है. सो वेयर आवर हेड ऑफ अकाउंट इज करेक्ट बट कैटेगरी इज रॉन्ग, दैट इज एरर ऑफ कमीशन. Now come to the error of principle. Error of principle is the type of an error in which we have wrongly made an accounting entry in the wrong head of account. For example, instead of debiting asset, we have debited expense. Both the balances are debit. Even the balance of the asset is debit and the expense is also debit. But now we have made a wrong entry in the wrong head of account. Where the head of account, where the major principle is going to be wrong, this is error of principle. Instead of debiting, we have debited expense. or instead of crediting liability, we have credited credited capital. So our head of account is now wrong. Say for example, if someone has purchased an asset and a furniture is being purchased, accounting entry should have been debit asset, debit non-current asset, debit furniture, credit cash. But maybe by wrong, the accounting entry has been passed as debit purchases, credit cash. So it means that head of account is now wrong. Instead of debiting asset, wrongly we have debited expense account. This is the error of principle. I hope you are clear about the difference among these. So error of principle, a transaction has conceptually been recorded incorrectly. That is, a non-current asset purchase of $1,000 has been debited to the repair expense account rather than the asset account. Okay, so this is the error of principle. So 3 errors we have discussed. Error of omission, जिसके अंदर completely omit हो जाएगी entry out of the accounting records. Error of commission, जिसके अंदर head of account सही है लेकिन category गलत है. Error of principle, जिसके अंदर head of account ही गलत है. Now the next type of the error is compensating error, where one error is going to compensate the other. Say for example, if we have done a mistake in one type of the account for $20, for the debit, in the debit we have understated $20. On the other side, we have maybe in the other account we have understated liability or credit also by $20. Both the errors are going to compensate each other. एक तरफ हम लोगों ने डेबिट को 20 कम रिकॉर्ड किया है, एक तरफ हमने क्रेडिट को 20 कम रिकॉर्ड कर दिया है. So both the errors are going to cancel the effect of each other. So these type of the errors are known as compensating errors. So they say 2 different errors have been made which cancel each other out. That is, a rent bill of $1,200 has been debited to the rent account as $1,400. And a casting error, students, casting errors is again arithmetical error. Casting means when we do add up things, okay? And a casting error on the sales account has resulted in sales being overstated by $200. So these are going to cancel each other. Students, understated means kam likhna. When we are decreasing the amount, we are understating it. Overstating means we are increasing the amount, okay? Then we have error of original entry. The correct double entry has been made, but with the wrong amount. Now the accounting entry is correct, but the amount which we have written is wrong. Say for example, you have made the cash sales. The accounting entry is debit cash, credit sales. This accounting entry is correct, but the cash sales happened for $100 and you have made the accounting entry for $200 in both the sides of an accounting entry. So that is the error of original entry, where original entry is the correct one, but the amount which has been recorded on both the sides is the wrong one. So they say the correct double entry has been made, but with the wrong amount. That is, cash sale of $76 has been recorded as $67. Then the last one is reversal of entry. Students, as its name is suggesting you that we are simply reversing the entry. Say for example, you are paying a rent expense. Accounting entry should have been debit rent expense, credit cash account. But instead of passing this entry, you have debited cash and credited rent expense. So you have reversed the accounting entry. The amounts may be the correct ones. The reversal of entry, the correct amount has been posted to the correct accounts, but on the wrong side. That is, a cash sale of $200 has been debited to sales and credited to bank. So I hope that everyone is clear. There are 6 types of the errors due to which the trial balance is still going to balance. First one is error of omission, जिसमें completely हम लोग entry omit कर देंगे. Error of commission, जिसमें head of account सही है पर category गलत है. Error of principle, जिसके अंदर head of account ही गलत है. Compensating error, 2 तरह के errors हम लोगों ने किए हैं. एक के अंदर debit को गलत कर दिया, एक तरफ credit को गलत कर दिया है. With the same amount compensating error होगा. Error of original entry, जिसके अंदर हम लोगों ने एंट्री बिल्कुल ठीक की है, अकाउंटिंग एंट्री ठीक की है, लेकिन अमाउंट्स गलत लिखी हैं. रिवर्सल ऑफ एंट्री, जिसके अंदर हम लोगों ने एंट्री को रिवर्स कर दिया, अमाउंट्स ठीक है बट एंट्री इज रॉन्ग. नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, वी हैव अंडरस्टैंडिंग नंबर 2. The requirement is provide the journal to correct each of the following errors. Students, these are the questions which are known as the questions on rectification of errors. we have to correct the errors. For these kind of the errors, you have to follow a certain process, okay? With the certain process, you have to cater these types of the questions in the exam, because otherwise there is a tendency for you to do the wrong questions. First, you are going to make a column in which you are going to write the correct entry, that what entry should have been passed, okay? Then in the second column, you are going to write the wrong entry, that what entry you have passed in actual, what have you done, what should have been passed and what has been done in actual. And the third column is for the rectified entry. In order to correct the entry, then what are you doing? So 3 columns you are going to make in order to do the questions on these. Even if you are very much confident about the correct entry, about the rectified entry, even then I suggest you to follow this, okay? So they say provide the journal to correct each of the following errors. A cash sales of $100 was not recorded. What is the correct accounting entry for cash sales? Mariam, what is the correct accounting entry for cash sales of $100?
Credit sales, debit cash.
Very good. Debit cash account, credit sales account, that is 100. What have you done? This accounting entry is not wholly passed. You have not at all passed this accounting entry. Which type of error is it, by the way? Error of omission. This is error of omission. They say a cash sale was not recorded. Wholly you have not recorded this accounting entry. So in order to rectify this mistake, what you are going to do, you are simply going to pass this accounting entry now. Debit cash, credit, sales account with an amount of $100. Students cleared? My online students, are you cleared?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure.
Ma'am, can you send picture?
I am adjusting the camera now. Are you able to see?
Yes, ma'am, we can see, but it is very far away.
In the end, I will send you a picture.
Okay,
Okay?
ma'am. Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, then. Second one is rates expense of 500 paid in cash has been debited to the rent account in error. Which type of error is this, students? Rates expense has to be debited, but wrongly we have debited rent account. Second type of the error, that is error of commission. Very good, excellent. It means that head of account is correct, but category is wrong. So what should have been the correct accounting entry? Debit should have been rates expense account, and credit would have been
Cash.
cash account with an amount of $500. But what we have done, instead of debiting rates, we have debited rent account and credit cash. So what should be the rectified entry now? We should have been debiting rate expense, but we have not debited it. Is it? So we are going to debit it. Debit will be rates expense account. We should not have debited rent account, but we have debited it. In order to cancel its effect, we are going to credit it. We are going to reverse it. So credit is going to be rent account, 500. And cash should have been credited, and we have credited it already. So there is no mistake in the cash account. We should have debited rates, but we have not. So we have debited it. We should not have debited rent account, but we have debited it. That is why we have credited it. So this is the rectified accounting. Then student, this type of the error is error of commission. Then students, the next type, a non-current asset purchases. A non-current asset purchase of $1,000 on credit has been debited to the repairs expense account rather than an asset account. This error is, instead of debiting non-current asset, we are debiting repairs expense account. Now, the head of account is wrong. This type of the error is error of principal. Very good, excellent. So a non-current asset purchase of $1,000 on credit. What should have been the correct accounting entry, Samiha? A non-current asset purchase of 1,000 on credit. Very good, debit. Non-current asset account and credit. Very good. Credit would have been payables account with an amount of 1,000. Has been debited to the repair expense account. What is the wrong entry, Yapa? Sorry? Debit repair expense account. We have, instead of debiting non-current asset account, we have debited repair expense account and credited payables. There is no mistake in payables account with an amount of $1,000. In order to rectify this, what we are going to do, students, tell me? We should have debited non-current asset account, but we have not. So we are going to debit non-current asset account. We should not have debited rent expense account, but we have debited. So in order to cancel its effect, we are going to credit it, repair expense account with an amount of $1,000. The next one, students, number 4, goods purchased at a cost of $950, paid in cash, has been debited to the sales account. Students, when we do purchase the goods on cash, what is an accounting entry? Debit, purchases account, and credit, cash account. So the amount should have been 950. So they say goods purchased at a cost of 950 paid in cash has been debited to the sales account. Instead of debiting purchases wrongly, we have debited sales account. And credit is cash. In credit, there is no mistake with an amount of 950. Okay, so what should be the correct accounting entry, students? We should have debited purchases, but we have not debited them. Debit purchases would be 950. We should not have debited sales, but wrongly we have debited them. So we are going to credit sales account with an amount of 950. Got it? Okay then. A cash sale of $76 has been recorded as 67. Which type of error is it, students? A cash sale of 76 has been recorded as 67. First, tell me what is an accounting entry for cash sales? Debit cash account?
Credit sales.
Credit sales account. We should have recorded it with an amount of $76, is it? But by mistake, what accounting entry we have passed? Debit cash account, credit sales account. Accounting entry is correct, but the amount with which we have recorded is 67. Which type of error is it? Error of original entry, where entry is correct, but the amount is wrong. In order to compensate, rectify this error, what we have to do? This is an understatement error. Understated amount is 76 minus 67. We should have debited cash with 76, but we have only debited it with 67. We should have debited sales account with 76, but we have credited them only for 67. So in the case of undercasting, we are going to pass the same accounting entry, debit cash account, credit sales account with a difference amount. 76 minus 67, how much? $9. $9 is going to be passed. The last is cash sale of 200 has been debited to sales and credited to cash. Now what is happening over here? Reversal of entries. A cash sale of 200, it means that the correct accounting entry would have been debit cash and credit sales with an amount of $200 has been debited to sales and credited to cash. We have debited sales with an amount of 200 and credited cash with an amount of 200. In order to correct it, what we are going to do? We are going to pass the correct accounting entry, that is debit cash, credit sales account. But the amount is going to be doubled. The first amount is going to cancel the effect of each other, and the second amount is going to reinstate this accounting entry in the reports. So with an amount of 400, we are going to pass this accounting entry. Is everyone clear, students? Clear, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, students, now I'm sending you a picture for this. I don't know whether you will be able to understand or not. So students, may I erase it now? Is everyone cleared? Okay, now students, the second category of the errors which we have discussed, errors where the trial balance does not balance. So as I told you that these are going to be the errors in which we have made a wrong entry in any one side of the account. Okay, so they say single-sided entry, a debit entry has been made but no corresponding credit entry or vice versa. Debit and credit entries have been made, but at different values. We are debiting by 60 and crediting by 80. Two debits or two credit entries have been posted. Instead of debiting and crediting in one accounting entry, we have debit both the accounts in the entry. Even then, our trial balance is not going to match. An incorrect addition in an individual account while making ledger account, there is a casting error, miscasting is there. Opening balance has not been brought down in the ledger account. Extraction error, the balance in the trial balance is different from the balance in the relevant account, or the balance from the ledger account has been placed on the wrong side of the trial balance. So your ledger accounts are correct, but while posting them in the trial balance, you have written them on the wrong side or by the wrong amount. So your trial balance is not going to match in these cases. Now, my dear students, in these kind of the errors in which the trial balance is not going to agree, the concept of the suspense account does arise. Suspense account is a kind of an account which is going to be made when there is a kind of suspense present. Sometimes an accountant, while making the accounting entry, may not be sure that which account is to be debited, which account has to be credited. So up till the point of time when he becomes sure about the correct account to be debited or credited, he makes a temporary account which is known as suspense account. Say, for example, the accounting entry for the cash sales is debit cash and credit sales. An accountant knows that we have to debit cash, but he is not understanding that which account has to be credited. Up till the point of time when he is going to become sure that sales are going to be credited, temporarily he is going to credit suspense account. Debit cash account, credit suspense account. In the other way also, the suspense account is going to be created. When you are making a trial balance and you find that your debit is not equal to the credit, in order to make both the sides equal, you temporarily make an account which is known as a suspense account, and you write the differential amount in the suspense side, so that your both sides should have to be equal. So they say if there is a difference on the trial balance, then a suspense account is used to make the total debits equal to the total credits. Say, for example, this is a trial balance being given in which the debit was not equal to the credit. So suspense account has been created and the balancing figure with which the debits were exceeding the credits have been put on the credit side. So that both the sides should have to be equal. They say the balance on the suspense account must be cleared before final accounts can be prepared. So after making the trial balance, before to the making of financial statements, this balance has to be cleared after finding the mistake. Corrections to any of the 6 errors mentioned above will affect the suspense account. So whenever you are going to correct these errors, it is going to affect the suspense account and your balance on the suspense account is going to be cleared. Now, suspense account, what do they say about suspense account? A suspense account is an account in which debits or credits are held temporarily until sufficient information is available for them to be posted to the correct accounts. There are 2 main reasons why suspense accounts may be created. On the extraction of the trial balance, the debits are not equal to the credits and the difference is put to the suspense account. The second one, when a bookkeeper performing double entry is not sure where to post one side of an entry, he or she may debit or credit a suspense account and leave the entry there until its ultimate destination is clarified. So in 2 situations, you can make the suspense account when your trial balance is not agreed, or while making the accounting entry, the accountant is not sure about the correct account which has to be debited or credited. So in both the situations, a suspense account is going to be created, but the balance on the suspense account has to be cleared before to making the financial statement. Now, the approach in the questions, you are going to follow the same approach as we have discussed earlier. You are going to make one column for the correct accounting entry, the other column for the wrong accounting entry, and the third one for the rectified entry. In these types in which the suspense account is going to be there, the suspense account is also going to be incorporated. How? Let's see. Take the same approach as before. In the did do section, did do means correct accounting entry. In the did do section, use the suspense account to balance off the entry that was made. In the correcting journal entry, reverse the suspense account entry. So correct accounting entry should have been debit non-current asset, credit cash. But what wrong accounting entry has been passed? Debit, non-current asset, and credit cash. So let's forget it for the time being. Say, for example, this is not the case. Consider this only, that accounting entry should have been debit, non-current asset, and credit cash. But wrongly, what you have done, you have debited non-current asset with an amount of 10, and cash account is correct. On one side of the account, there is a difference. It means that your trial balance is not going to match. In order to match both the sides, suspense account has been created temporarily. So debit suspense account with the balancing figure and credit cash account. This might have been done by the accountant while making the trial balance, because trial balance was not agreed. So when you are going to rectify the accounting entry, obviously with the remaining balance, non-current asset account has to be debited with the 90. And suspense account, which has been created temporarily, is going to be credited with an amount of 90. So this approach is going to be followed. Are you clear? They say, where an opening balance has not been brought down, journal it in and send the opposite entry to suspense. The correct journal entry must always include an equal debit and credit. Have a look at the example which they have given students and see whether you are understanding the fact or not. What our teachers used to tell us at that time, they said that please make 3 columns: correct entry, wrong entry, and the rectified entry. In the same case, The correct accounting entry should have been debit non-current asset and credit cash, 100 amount. What wrong entry we have passed? We have debited non-current asset with an amount of 10 only, and we have credited cash with the correct amount of 100. It means that your debit is not equal to the credit. So obviously, credit is correct. You are going to debit non-current asset account with the differential amount of 90, and there is nothing to be credited. So we are going to credit suspense account. This is the approach which we have been told. Okay? But in this, they are creating a suspense account as well, and then later they are crediting. Okay? Clear? So you are concerned about the rectified entry in this case. Okay, students, let's move on. Here is an illustration. The requirement of the question is what journals are required to correct the errors and eliminate the suspense account. Now the suspense account is created, which has to be eliminated. They are requiring you to tell them that what journals are required to correct the errors and eliminate the suspense account. Let's read this question. On extracting the trial balance, the accountant of ETT discovered a suspense account with the debit balance of 1,075. There has been a suspense account. Is it? This is what they are telling us. Like all the other accounts, we have suspense account as well. And they are telling that it has been discovered that the suspense account is having a debit balance of 1,075. Where should we post this balance? Opening balance on the same side. Closing balance on the opposite side. This is opening balance for you, is it? Opening debit on the debit side. Closing debit on the credit side. Got it? So this balance in the suspense account has to be written on debit side, that is 1075. On extracting the trial balance, the accountant of ETT discovered a suspense account with the debit balance of 1,075 included therein. She also found that the debits exceeded the credits by 957. Students, if debits are exceeding the credits on suspense account, where should you have to put the balance then? When the debits are more than the credits in the trial balance, where are you going to put the balance on the suspense account then? Credit side. Obviously, when your debits are more than the credit side, debits are more than the credit, it means in order to balance it on the suspense account, you are going to put the balance on the credit side. So when they are telling us that she has also found that the debits exceeded the credits by 957, it means that this trial balance difference has to be posted on the credit side of the suspense account. Got it? She posted this difference to the suspense account and then investigated the situation. Okay, she has done this practice and then she has discovered the following. A debit balance of 75 on postage account has been incorrectly extracted on the list of balances as 750. Now we have to make the correct accounting entries. So we are going to make that same one column correct entry, then wrong entry, and the third one as rectified entry. So number one case, a debit balance of 75 on the postage account had been incorrectly extracted on the list of the balances as 750 debit. What has been done? What should have been done in correction, students? This is one, not B, okay? Number one, the debit should have been to the postage account as 75. Is it? But what we have done, we have debited it with an amount of postage account, we have debited with an amount of 750. On credit, there is no mistake. Because they say a debit balance of 75 on postage account. Postage account means ledger account. Postage account has been correctly extracted on the list of balances as 750 debit. By wrongly, we have made it 750 debit. In order to correct it, we have to credit it, is it? We are going to reverse it. We are going to credit postage account with an amount of how much? What is the difference, students? 675. And obviously on debit, what we are going to do? We are going to debit suspense account with an amount of 675. Clear? The next one. A payment of 500 to credit supplier X has been correctly entered in the cash book, but no entry has been made to the payables control account. We have made a payment to the payables. Is it? A payment of 500 has been made to the creditor X. So the accounting entry should have the payables account and credit cash account with an amount of $500. Is it? Am I right? This is the correct accounting entry. But had been correctly entered in the cash account. Cash account is correct, but no entry has been made in the payables control account. What we have done, we have not debited payables control account, but we have credited only cash account with an amount of $500. No entry is being made to the payables account. In order to correct it, what we are going to do, we are going to debit payables account with an amount of 500. Since we do not have anything to credit, we are going to credit suspense account with an amount of $500. Clear? The third one, when a motor vehicle has been purchased during the year, the bookkeeper did not know what to do with the debit entry. So he made the entry debit suspense account, credit bank account. Motor vehicle has been purchased, students, with cash. So the accounting entry should have been debit, non-current asset, credit, cash account with an amount of $15.75. But they say that the bookkeeper did not know what to do with the debit entry. So he made the entry as debit suspense account, credit bank account. So what did he do? Debit, suspense account, and credit bank account. Instead of cash, you can write bank because this is correct. Bank account with an amount of $15.75. In order to rectify this, now what we have to do? We are going to debit non-current asset account because this should have been debited. Suspense account has been debited temporarily. That is why we are going to credit it with the same amount. That is $15.75. Clear? If at any point, students, you are not clear, tell me. Okay, the next one. A credit balance of 81 in the sundry income account has been incorrectly extracted on the list of the balance as debit balance. Students, what we have done? There has been a credit balance in the sundry income account, but we have incorrectly extracted it as a debit balance. We should have, this is an extraction error. Basically, in accounting entry, we have not made an error. In extracting the balance from the ledger account, we have made this error. We should have credited it, but we have given a debit to it. What we are going to do now? We are going to give the double credit now. Got it? We should have credited it, but wrongly we have debited sundry income account. So what we are going to do? We are going to give a double credit to it. A credit balance of 81 in the sundry income account has been incorrectly extracted on the list of the balances as debit balance. So we are going to credit it sundry income account with the double amount, that is 81 plus 81, 80, 81, 60 and 162. And debit would be suspense account, 162. Anyone, any confusion up to here? Students, we are on the fourth one. Yes, this is the fourth one. Okay, now the fifth one. A receipt of $5 from the credit customer Y had been correctly posted to his account, but had been entered in the cash book as 625. We have received an amount from the customer. The accounting entry is cash account, debit, and credit would be receivables account with an amount of $5. This should have been the correct accounting entry. Had been correctly posted to his account, receivables are correctly being posted, but has been entered in the cash book as 625. We have debited cash account as 625, and we have credited receivables with the correct amount, that is $5. So what we have to do, cash account is overstated. We are going to credit it. High amount is being written in it. So we are going to credit the cash account, 625 minus 5, 620 is going to be credited. And we are going to debit suspense account. That is 620. Clear, everyone? Now the next one, number 6. The bookkeeper was not able to deal with the receipt of 500 from the owner's on bank account, and he has made the entry as debit bank account and credit suspense account. What should have been the correct accounting entry, students? The bookkeeper was not able to deal with the receipt of 500 from the owner's on bank account. It means that the capital has been invested. Is it? The correct accounting entry should have been debit bank account and credit capital account with an amount of $500. But the entry which has been made is debit bank account 500 and credit suspense account 500. What should be the rectified entry? Bank account is correct. We are not going to touch that. But capital has to be credited, which is not being credited. So we are going to reverse this suspense account, debit suspense account 500, and we are going to credit the correct account of capital account with the amount of $500. Cleared? The last one, the second last one. No entry has been made for a check of $120 received from the credit customer. Students, here I am going to do correct entry, wrong entry, and rectified entry. Make it over here. Correct entry, wrong entry, and then the rectified entry. No entry has been made for a check of $120 received from the credit customer F. It means that this is the error of omission. We have received the check from our credit customer, debit cash, credit receivables, but no entry has been made. So what we are going to do, debit cash, credit receivables with an amount of $120. So our suspense account is not involved in that because this is the error of omission. This is the type of the error in which trial balance is still going to agree. Then the last one, 8.1, a receipt of 50 from credit customer N had been entered in the receivable control account as 5 and into the cash book as 5. Accounting entry must have been debit, cash account, credit, receivables account with an amount of $50. But we have done debit cash account, credit receivable account. This is an error of original entry with an amount of 5 we have done it. This is an understatement error. So in order to rectify it, we are going to pass the same accounting entry, debit cash account, credit sales account with the differential amount of $45. Again, the suspense account is not involved. Now, students, in order to remove the differences in the suspense account, you are going to make all these entries, you are going to transfer them in the suspense account where the suspense account is involved. Got it? In the first case, the suspense account has been debited with 675. 675 has been debited in the first case. Then the suspense account has been credited with 500. Is it? 500 on the credit side. Then again, the suspense account is credited with 1575. 1575 on the credit side. Then suspense account is debited with 162. 162 on the debit side. Again, suspense account is debited 620. And then suspense account is debited with 500. There is no more suspense account. Got it? This is what we are going to do. Now, please solve it. Tell me the totals in the ledger account, students. Have you done? 3032 on the credit side? Debit side? Okay. Are you sure it's 3032? 3032 on both sides? Yes. So both sides equal means that we have removed the difference in the suspense account. So in this way, your suspense account should also be equal in order to make sure that the errors have been corrected. I hope that everyone is clear. Now, students, should we end the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now students, what you have to do, the questions which I've given you, students, my online students also. The next chapter in our book is regarding preparing basic financial statements. In that particular chapter, you have to do illustration number 1 and understanding number 1 by your own. You have to prepare the basic financial statements. Illustration number 1 and understanding number 1 is your homework. Together with that, the portion, chapter number 1 to 12, the exam questions which I have sent to you, please take the hard copies of those and start solving those. In the next lecture, I will be asking you that whether you have done those or not. And please make sure that you are doing, otherwise I will be really very disappointed. I will feel that our efforts are going in vain. Okay, so please solve those because those are very necessary. We are not going to get a lot of time. Towards the end of the January, we have to give exams. Okay. So then, students, this is all for today. If you do have any questions, please do ask. And for my online students, I can understand that today's lecture has been the one which should have been attended in class. Understanding it in in online class, it's very difficult. So please, I just request you to revise the concepts and make sure that you are understanding. Rectification of errors is again one of the important topics from the exam point of view. You can expect two questions at least from this portion. And students, this preparing basic financial statement. This question is also very important. You can expect it in the last portion of the that is multiple task questions. In multiple task questions, this can come. Okay, preparing financial statements. So now this is all for today, students. I am ending the class. See you in the next week then.
Okay, ma'am. Allah Hafiz. Take care.
Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.